Everyone who drives out to the Hamptons is familiar with the 50-foot tall sculpture by the side of Manorville Road, about 3/4 of the way out to the Hamptons. It's called Stargazer, and it's been the welcome to the Hamptons marker in a field of turf for half a mile. And everyone is all excited to say they're on their way here to the Hamptons. And it's kind of a symbol. In the last year, it's been in disrepair. And my guest today is David Morris, who was the life partner of Linda Scott, who designed the sculpture. And he's the one who built it 50 feet high. And I wanted to ask him, in the end, I'm going to ask him about what's going to happen now that he's underway to fix it. But before that, I thought we'd talk a little bit about what the sculpture meant. This was a sculpture you put together yourself with the tools that I see on the wall behind you, I think, in many ways. So tell us a little bit about how it came about and why it got there.
Linda had a whole series of other Stargazer sculptures, which we had out in fields, and they were heads looking to the sky, and they were influenced from her trip to the Yucatan, and she was really thought some of the I guess the Mayan gods were incredible. They had a connection to the stars, and there was like a magic about it. So after putting those large sculptures up, which eventually we took down, she thought of doing a large deer sculpture at ARF. They had asked her to do a sculpture, and it had to be big enough for a fire truck to go under it, to go over the roadway.
Oh, what's ARF? Tell people.
The ARF pod, but the ARF that's on
Daniel's
across from the airport. Across from the airport, and because there was problems with the airport and airplanes and so forth, the town told her that she couldn't erect it. So she was left and kind of stuck in a way. And then I noticed that there was, driving by in Manorville one time with the fields, it was a magnificent spot. And it was exactly the spot when she would drive out where her dog, her German Shepherd, would bark. It would sniff the air. It was like, I guess when you come over the hill, there's a difference in the air, especially her dog could notice it and would woof. And the fields were the sod fields on the left where the Stargazer is, and also there was also sod fields on the right where there's a development now. So I mentioned it to her. Wouldn't that be fantastic to have the Stargazer out there in the sod fields? People would see it when they're coming out to the Hamptons, and she'd say, oh, she agreed. So I contacted Delalio, which does the sod, and they told me gave me the information on the owners, which was Harvey Pollock at the time. And I contacted him, and he thought it was a great idea as long as the town agreed with it. So I contacted the town officials, and we had a meeting with, the lawyers, and there was all kinds of people. And they agreed as long as I put the sculpture up back away, so if it ever fell down, it wouldn't hit cars. And that's how we got going on it. And so I started working on design. She gave me a marquette that was about 2 feet high, made out of foam core. And then we started up, we made a model out of steel first. We had that cut. And after that, we liked the looks of it. She made some corrections. And then I came up with a design on how to build it large. And we came up with about 50 feet. And I cut it out of, first I cut it out the whole shape. I blew it up in a large studio, and she made corrections on it. She stood on a ladder 16 feet, put a piece of chalk on a paint pole, and made the corrections from looking at it from 16 feet high, looking down. I cut the plywood out. We brought it to the fabrication shop, Trocchio Steel, and we worked on the design of the steel. I had a design of how to do it, and they did a little differently. They made it stronger using tubes, 6x6 steel tubes, which were galvanized. So actually, they made it a little stronger than what I had originally designed.
What year was this erected?
And this was all back, and I would have to say 82.
And it's been beautiful for 40 years.
Yes, and the original design, the way we built it, because of a budget constraints, we used plywood and stucco, and we thought it would only last possibly 10 years, 15 years, but it's lasted a lot longer. So now it's time to redo it.
What got it into the shape that it's in now, where there's some damage to it?
Well, water got into it. The
storm.
Well, there's a problem. As you can see, there's birds love it, and it's made out of that synthetic stucco. And back then, that system wasn't perfected. It was and also woodpeckers love the top of it. It holes in it, and water get inside. And because it wasn't vented properly, I never thought that would be a problem. It dry rotted from the inside out, the plywood. So this particular time, I will make vents, especially under the ears. I will vent it. So if there's any moisture that enters, it can vent out. So
what's been the holdup about why it's been in disrepair for such a period of time?
Well, I didn't want to start there was a whole problem with the on a lease. The property owners had changed. There was a brother and two sisters, and then it got passed on, I guess, to one sister, and then that went into a trust, and then they ended up with 12 owners, and everyone had to agree for a lease that would work, for an extended period of time. And they insured me, and now we're all ready to go. They keep asking me, come on, let's start the fundraising. We want it here. We love it. So there we go. We've worked it out.
How long is it going to take to repair? Are you going to take it down, or are you going to repair it?
No, I won't take it down to steel. What I will do is I'll copy what is there out of thin plywood again. And when I rebuild it, I'll have to skin it all down for sure. Re-weld if there's any damages, any weaknesses in the welds. And then I will resheath it again, in a very similar way. But what we'll use, instead of using regular 2x4s, we'll use pressure-treated 2x4s, and we'll add some more steel. We'll add treated plywood. On top of that, we'll add, which is part of the plan, we'll add cement board. It's a drain board type thing for the synthetic stucco, and we use synthetic stucco all over again. There was talk about redoing the whole thing in stainless steel, but the cost would be $500,000 because we'd have to weld and grind, and the stainless steel is extremely heavy and expensive.
What about the woodpeckers?
On that, this time on top of it, I'm going to flash it I'll have metal underneath. They won't be able to penetrate.
They'll hurt their beaks.
They'll hurt their beaks. They'll break their beaks.
Break their hearts.
Probably.
Was there ever any thought about moving it somewhere else?
If we could not have, agreed on a lease, or if they wanted the Stargazer off the property, we had thought about possibly moving it across the street. From what I understand, that's the town's property, Brookhaven.
Yeah.
I could donate it. Let me assemble it there, so it would be very easy wouldn't be easy, but we could move it across the street. On the other side, I don't think it would be as nice, but it would be in the same location.
How have you had any help along the way when it's been in disrepair from different groups?
Yeah, over the past, one time it was vandalized, and there was a woman who donated money. I think she's passed away, and Her name was Heathia Nye, and she gave Linda Scott, made a hefty donation to have it repaired the last time it was vandalized. That was years ago.
And I think Hampton Jitney helped.
Oh, and the Hampton Jitney at times, yes, definitely. Don't let me forget about Jeff. He donated money, yes, definitely, for the upkeep and keeping the repairs going.
And then you'd see a bus go by with Stargazer on the side.
Yeah, that was a funny story. Jeff contacted Linda and said, "Oh, can I put the Jitney on the Stargazer as an advertisement, and I'll give you money?" And Linda said to him, "Why don't we put the Stargazer on your buses?" And he laughed and he agreed. He was very generous.
Yes, he was.
And then when you go in the Hampton Jitney, as you walk through the door and you look up on top, Linda gave him one of her paintings of 3 horses like the surf. When you look at the surf sometimes, when the wind's blowing and the water's blowing, it looks like the mane of a horse. And so she made a painting to simulate that.
I know that painting. And as a matter of fact, 1 week, I put it on the cover of Dan's papers. You may remember that.
Yeah.
I thought it was a remarkable painting.
Yeah.
What did she have to say about the meaning of it? If it had a meaning, or what kind of joy?
It does have a meaning. It's the because they're all stargazers. She was into following quantum mechanics and quantum physics, and she just loved the idea that everything, every element in the whole universe basically comes from a exploding star, a supernova. So she thought, "Oh my goodness, do you know what that means, David? That means we're all stardust." And she was a magical person.
She passed away.
She passed away, but she would see things in another light, on like another sphere. She would look at trees, she'd look at the water, and she would see particles breaking down. She could see the energy in a tree and see it vibrating and connecting with other elements, which is very rare. Not many people can do that, but she was on a higher level than most people, for sure.
What? How would people be able to donate? Because you're going to be raising money now to do this repair. Where's I saw there's a banner now up on the Stargazer announcing that the repairs are about to begin.
There's we're sponsored to. We're part of the RT Living Arts Foundation, which sponsors art projects, and we have a GoFundMe page, and the money goes to that non-for-profit 5013C, and all the money that comes in through that GoFundMe page, Save the Stargazer, goes into a special bank account for the Stargazer, the repair.
And how long do you think it might take to get this thing back into shape once you have the funds?
If I have the funds, it would take approximately, I would say, about 6 months.
And this time, how long would it last there?
This time, I would say about 40 to 50 years.
Well, that would be great.
Absolutely. The way I'm going to build it, when that synthetic stucco first came out, there was a lot of problems with it. And now they've addressed that. And with all the new cement drainage board, it's any moisture that comes through or penetrates, leaks out. So there won't be the problem with water damage. So
well, that's wonderful. I'm talking to David Morris, the life partner of Linda Scott, who designed Stargazer, and David built it himself.
No, that's not quite true. We had a team.
A team led by David.
I had a team led by David Morris, but there was.
How did you get it? How did you get it out there in trucks?
The steel was fabricated in Manorville.
Yeah.
So that was trucked. It was in pieces, so we had to assemble it.
Let's see.
And that was assembled on the flat. And once that was assembled without the ears, I did some of the work of the plywood and, 2x4s and whatever I used. And then we stood it up with a giant 150-ton crane. And once we did that, I secured it with cables. Then we added on the steel ears, which, is the main strength of it. It had
Yeah.
the compression and tension. So,
And where were you trained to? Did you figure out how to build something so beautiful and
well,
so big?
I studied civil engineering, and also I worked for a industrial contracting company. One of the guys I went to school was, his name was Brent Dybel, and his father owned an industrial contracting company that built large glass factories. So we were always involved with, steel. And he was an engineer, and plus with my engineering background, I always had other people I could bounce ideas off to make sure we were going on the right track.
Well, that's great. Well, thanks for taking the time to be on this podcast, and I want to wish you well, and I hope we raise the money quickly and we get this thing repaired, and everything will be great for another half century.
I do too. Wish us luck. And everyone out there, we need your help. Every little bit helps.
Okay, thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.
Bye, David.
All right, bye-bye.